Giridhar Mandyam, who's the Vice President of Qualcomm in San Diego. Along with Dr. G. Venkatesh and Professor Uday Desai, 10 years ago, we did a 2 cents little bit, and we so-called the founders of the conference, COMSNETS. Now I realized that in 10 years from now, this will become a global brand where people from all over the world, faculty, students, startups, NGOs, governments, and other folks. I just want to take you very quickly in 1 minute, because I know our general chairs, Dr. Archana Mishra and Ramji, are very tight, they're very strict. The scale is right over there. The evening is a packed evening, but it's an evening full of fun. So we'll have Professor Saran introduce our very distinguished speakers. We have this SVP and CIO of Cisco here, VC Gopal Ratnam, and then we have a talk by our CTO and Senior Vice President of TCS, K. Anant Krishnan. None of the distinguished speakers need an introduction, and we are delighted that they took time out to address the audience at COMSNETS 2018. We will then invite Ms. Tulika Pandey to welcome all the delegates of COMSNETS 2018. Ms. Pandey has been instrumental from the Government of India and the Ministry of Electronics and IT in taking the conference to great heights. Professor Anurag Kumar, the Director of IC Bangalore, we're going to request you to then propose a vote of thanks. We're requesting Anand and Gopal to hand over the Best Paper Awards. So all the chairs, please be ready for that with all the certificates. We've had outstanding papers this year in all the categories. So we're going to request you, Gopal, and Anand to hand over the awards. After that, we will announce very quickly about a book that has been released by Cisco on digitization. The book is going to be, my colleagues in Cisco, friends in Cisco, will talk about the book for just a minute. And then we will have a comedy show by a well-known Bangalorean, Dr. Jagdish Chaturvedi, who is in InnaCell Bangalore, which is a healthcare startup. He's now going all over the country, and he kindly agreed to, for the first time, have a comedy show here. We'll break for cocktails and dinner immediately thereafter, and then once you all settle down and have a bite, we will come back for handing over mementos to all the organizing committee members. The general chairs will then invite all the volunteers and take photographs and appreciate their contributions. And then we will we will thank the outgoing committee this year, which has been an outstanding committee. And there's a trophy which will be formally handed over to the new committee. So you can see that the conference has become highly professional. The new committee is announced. We'll announce the new committee at the second phase once the dinner starts. So with that, I'm going to request Giridhar Mandyam to share a few words and then invite Professor Huzu to start. Thank you.
Yeah, so I welcome you all on behalf of the COMSNETS Association and the steering committee. We're very pleased with record attendance. We're projecting to have larger attendance than ever before in any of the history of COMSNETS going back 10 years. So I won't delay any further. I'd like to give the time to our invited guests and the rest of the program. So I'll invite Professor Saran to come up and introduce our guests.
Pleasure to see COMSNET having grown over the last 10 years to such a large community. We see we are almost filling, there's no seat left and we are filling the hall, so that's showing how active the community is. And of course the quality of the presentations, as I'm sure you have all attended sessions, you must have seen the quality of the presentations, the papers, as well as the participation and the invited speakers has been excellent. Now I would like to invite Mr. VC Gopal Ratnam. He is the Chief Information Officer for Cisco for its international operations and the Senior Vice President of IT. Mr. Gopal Ratnam is also the leader for Global IT Services. Before joining Cisco in 2007, he was the business leader of the Global Analytics Practice at GE, General Electric, Capital International Services. And prior to that, he led GE's Global E-Engineering Collaborative Engineering practice. He holds a master's degree in Chemical Engineering and Risk Management and an MBA in MIS Finance. So, Gopal.
Thank you so much. We'll keep it very short. We'll try and get out of here in about 10 minutes. But again, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to be here and to be a part of COMSNET. We really live in very exciting times. There's never been a better time than right now to be in the technology industry. It's also the worst time for us because we also have to keep reinventing ourselves all the time because technology changes are happening all the time. it used to take about 5 years for a technology to be developed and implemented at scale. And today that whole thing takes about 6 months. And in 6 months, if you're not relevant, somebody else is relevant, you kind of are out of a job, right? So that's why I keep telling people who are straight out of college, who are 20 years old, who have to work for the next 40 years, if technology changes every 6 months, how much stamina do you have? Can you survive the next 40 years? So I'm very happy I'm closer to retirement than to the start of my professional career. So I just want to share some statistics with you, right, which might be of interest to you. If you think about it, about 10 years ago, Cisco introduced a technology called CRS3, Carrier Router System 3, which service providers were using. It could support bandwidth of 322 terabits per second. 322 terabits a second. The question that was asked of us is, how many people do you think will buy this thing? 5, 10 maybe? We've actually sold hundreds and hundreds of these, which tells you that the world is really looking at data kind of overload, and that bandwidth, nobody is surprised by that anymore. The second one is, we talked about 3 years ago, somebody said that by the year, actually 5 years ago, by the year 2020, you'll have 1 gig per second to the home. And everyone said, in India, really? Guess what? About 6 months ago, Hyderabad launched it. It's already happening in the house, which is 5 years earlier than expected. And if you look at the information that's produced today, you pick up the New York Times, and you take 1 week of the New York Times. That has more information in it than the entire 19th century. 1 week. And clearly, if you take the iPhone is much more powerful than the computer that piloted Apollo 11 to the moon. Think of that, right? The other one, of course, is the fact that mankind has been on this planet for 120,000 years. And 99% of what we know today was invented in the last 200 years. So I don't know what mankind was doing together. But 99% of what we know today was invented in the last 200 years. And by the time 2050 rolls around, 90% of what you will know in 2050 will be invented between now and 2050. That is the speed, and that is the world that we are living in. And really, the only thing that is going to work for us moving forward in this particular paradigm is technology. And technology changes are happening like crazy. And every organization, it doesn't matter whether you're in the public sector, private sector, in academics, government, whatever, is digitally transforming today. And those companies or those organizations that don't transform themselves digitally with technology are going to be left behind. And that's unfortunately what's happening. And I always use this example. I assume everyone in the room eats Domino's pizza, right? Or had Domino's pizza. Have you looked at the billboard or the sign for Domino's? And whether it's changed in the last 2 years? It used to say Domino's Pizza, now it only says Domino's. Which means that, what does that mean? Domino's Pizza doesn't consider itself a pizza company anymore. They consider themselves a logistics company. Which means they're using technology to transform everything that they do. And if a pizza company which is not known for technology is transforming that way, everybody else really needs to follow. And therefore, digitization is going to be the foundation of everything that we do in the coming decades. There are clearly different aspects of digitization. It's probably the most over-analyzed topic out there. I'm not going to go into the details of all of that. But needless to say, it's about security, it's about data, it's about cloud, it's about mobility, it's about networking, it's about connectivity. And you can call it IoT, you can call it whatever else you want. At the end of the day, networking and connectivity is really what is going to transform the world moving forward. And in order to do that, it requires partnerships. Partnerships at multiple levels. The first one is between government and the private sector. Neither one can do it alone, so we really have to work together in order to make this thing happen. The second thing is between industry and academia. Neither one can do it on its own, and they really have to come together. And then really the whole thing about an ecosystem. No one organization or no one individual can drive this digital transformation moving forward. You have to be able to work within an ecosystem of companies, an ecosystem of partners, an ecosystem of resources. Because all of us are in this thing together, and with all of this going on, the world is competing completely in a different way. People that you're partnering with today are your best friends today, are your biggest competitors tomorrow. And that will change the day after tomorrow. So how do you succeed in an environment like that? And the only way to do that is through partnerships. Now clearly the government of India is doing a ton of work in trying to transform the country, the digital transformation in India. The local manufacturing, you can call it, Skills India, Digital India, connectivity out to everybody, national broadband program, modernization of the defense. There are so many initiatives going on. But clearly, in order to make that thing work, industry, government, academia, all of us really have to come together in order to make this thing happen. We've got a fabulous opportunity because we're the youngest country in the world, getting younger day by day, day by day. And in the next 10 years, it's a massive opportunity for India to actually vault to the top of the digitization world, right? And that's the world that we live in. It is very exciting. It is very challenging. The world is looking to us for guidance. The world is looking to us for examples. Let's come together and make that work, okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Gopal, for your very interesting ideas and how we need to cooperate and compete at the same time in this world of cooperation, right? And now I have the great pleasure of inviting the Chief Technology Officer of Tata Consultancy Services, Mr. K. Anant Krishna. Anant directs research and innovation in TCS. Anant has architected a 4E model to make invention, innovation, co-innovation at TCS deliver value to TCS business and its customers. Under his leadership, the TCS research community has created a significant portfolio of patents, papers, and IP. Anant has been a member of the TCS corporate think tank since 1999 and has led several strategic initiatives. He has been a principal architect and lead consultant in the architecture and technology consulting practice, and earlier he headed the TCS system management and system software group. Anant is on the customer advisory board of several organizations, including Symantec and IBM National. He was elected a fellow of the Indian Academy of Engineering in recognition of his contributions towards engineering in 2013. He is a senior member of IEEE and a member of CSI. He is an invited faculty at the Department of Management Studies at IIT Madras. He is also, of course, very actively involved with the Tata Sons and helping them in the quarterly management review. And he has been recognized as Computer World's premier 100 IT leaders. He has been chosen as one of the InfoWorld's top 25 CTOs. These are just some of the many awards he has received. He is an MTech in computer science from our department at IIT Delhi. So that is a matter of pride for us. He is in fact, a distinguished alumnus. When I just became head in 2009, and he visited us, and we were fortunate that we could recognize his great contributions in the field, and he was recognized as a distinguished alumni. So it's a great pleasure to have him over and have his thoughts.
But very kind, very long introduction. I should remember to edit that down in the future. Gopal, thank you for setting the stage for COMSNETS. Members of the COMSNETS board, organizing committee, Archon, Rajiv, and others. I see several friends in the audience. Professor Anurag, I just sent you a mail this morning. What I thought in the context of COMSNETS 2018, completing 10 years, and looking forward into what context COMSNETS will have to work on. I thought I would share my thoughts on the way in which the world of business and the world of technology are rapidly evolving in the light of many things that Gopal has already covered. ICT certainly is at the heart of it, but let me take you back not 120,000 years, as Gopal indicated, but about 400 years, or maybe 300 years, to what happened at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. See, I used to, among many things that I did at IIT Delhi, I used to be on the quiz team for all the years that I was there. And we used to answer arcane questions like which was the oldest company in the world. So those of you who care to know, it was a Dutch East India Company. The English East India Company is the second oldest company in the world. So companies are a recent context. Before that, they were just artisans, guilds, groups of workers who used to do something together. But the notion of an industrial corporation really started with the Industrial Revolution, which, let me call it technology 1.0. So steam power freed the world from energy as a concern. Along with that, mass production became a winning business model. So companies that could harness the then state-of-the-art technology, which was steam power, could mass produce and outcompete every other kind of company, and they became the most valuable companies in the world. Textile mills in England, for example, or the steel mills which came up later in Germany, in the United States, and so on. This was in the 1700s. The second fillip to business models came with the first ICT revolution, where telegraph came through. Electricity powered instead of steam, much cleaner, much more dependable, much more transportable, and so on. So in the 1850s to pretty much to the 1930s, the second industrial technology wave started. And that spawned Business 2.0. Now companies could communicate worldwide, supply and demand became predictable. You could now transport goods much more reliably compared to steamships. Now you had electric powered ships. You could have information flows thanks to telegraph, later telephone, which were very reliable. So companies which could master distributed production became the norm. And the companies which were powering this revolution, the steam companies, the steamship companies, the railroad companies, the early precursors of electric companies, General Electric, AT&T, and so on, they became the world's most valuable, sought-after, exemplar companies. The third technology wave, which was information technology, started in the 50s, and that caused yet another change in business models, which said that can now information technology be used as a competitive advantage? Not that the earlier two of mass production and distributed global supply chains had gone away, they were still there, and companies built up their models on that basis. Companies which are now exploiting information technology for quicker decision making, for becoming better at regulatory compliance, the whole services industry started really dominating. Banking and financial services is a great example. Before that, banks existed, but they used to lend money locally, and they used to be locally known. Now you had the notion of a global trading system, a global bank, a global insurer, a global retailer, and so on. Many of these spawned the most valuable companies of that era, whether they were IBM, whether they were companies like Walmart, and so on and so forth. We are now living in the digital era, where thanks to all the work that this community has done and your peers worldwide, digital technologies have become to the extent that the iPhone is as powerful as the mainframes which drove the Apollo program. Not just that, communication is instantaneous, information is available in a way that 150 years ago, 200 years ago, the telegraph and the telephone promised, but now you can actually deliver to millions, billions of people. The ability for these technologies to be leveraged by a new business model is also emerged. That's what we in TCS are calling Business 4.0. Right? Business 1.0 was mass production, Business 2.0 was distributed supply chains, Business 3.0 is information technology leverage. Business 4.0 has 5 characteristics. What are the world's most valuable companies doing today? One indicator is to look at the world's most valuable companies in each of these eras. Today, that list of, let's say, the top 10 market cap, whatever measure you want to use, is dominated by these Business 4.0 kind of companies. On conventional measures, they may not look that hot. They may not have the most assets, they may not have the most people, they may not have the biggest balance sheets, but they seem to be doing something which is very exciting. Right? So whether it's an Apple, whether it's a Google, whether it's a Tencent or a Baidu or Tesla or an Amazon, they are capturing the imagination of this business 4.0 way. So what are these companies doing? The first thing that they're doing is that they are redefining the way in which they interact with their customers. A 3.0 company would look at customers and say, I'm a B2B, business to business company, I'm a B2C, and I can serve 100 million customers. In fact, for a third gen business 3.0 company, 100 million customers was a major milestone. You would go out and celebrate. If you take the largest bank in India, State Bank of India has about 250 million, 300 million customers. They have maybe 500 million accounts, but 250, 300 million customers. That's a big deal. If you take any other company, they are in that range. A business 4.0 company doesn't blink an eye to serve 1 billion customers, 2 billion customers, 3 billion customers. So they're doing something to attract so many customers, retain them. How are they doing it? They're creating a tailored, individual, personalized experience for every customer all the time. If you open your Facebook page, if you happen to be on Facebook, it looks different every time you open it. If you have a phone, doesn't matter which phone, it looks different every time you open it. It's personalized to you. Your phone, exactly the same physical hardware, the same communication software, etc. Great. But now it looks different. It might be an alert, there might be a warning, there might be newsfeed, there might be something. So extreme personalization and extreme scale is one thing that these companies are doing. How they're doing it is technology. That I presume all of you know how to do. Second thing that these companies do is to leverage ecosystems to derive enormous exponential value. In all the three previous eras, business was about a seller selling to a buyer. The buyer would then give value back to the seller. It's a unit transaction. You can call it a linear model. In these companies, the linear model is still the basic unit of work, but that basic unit of work is now created into an ecosystem. So a company like an Amazon has a huge network, and Alibaba has a network, and Apple or a Google has network business models which add exponential value to the same unit multiplied n times over. The same asset is sweated 20 times over, 50 times over, 100 times over. That is very unique, and they're leveraging technology to do it. That is driving ecosystem value, and it is driving exponential value for these companies. The fourth characteristic is that these companies have a very different view of risk and resource. Many years ago, several companies, including Tata Motors and Nissan and GE, General Motors and so on, came up with the notion of electric cars. Right? Tata Motors had an electric IndyCar 10 years ago. Nissan had the Leaf. Chevy had the Volt. But it took a Tesla to capture the imagination of the electric car industry. And they had the same challenge that the earlier companies had, that batteries were not as easily available as gasoline or diesel. Now, what is the mindset of Tesla or their founder Elon Musk do? It's a risk to his company. So he says, I want to solve it with a mindset of abundance and say, let's set up the world's biggest battery factory. Whether they pull it off or not, whether the battery factory will work, and so on and so forth, he's managed to convince investors to put money into a giga battery factory, and not one, but probably many. This is the kind of business model elements which seem to be driving business 4.0 companies, which are running on the technology 4.0 that we have created. The reason I kind of diverted into this is to give you a picture of what is it that the technology community invents, the consequences of that and the business models of that are equally, if not more complex and exciting. So as core technologists, when you talk about IoT, when you talk about networks, when you talk about 5G, when you talk about data, it's important to understand that these are building blocks which will be used in different ways. Just like in the earlier era, steam was used, electricity was used, telegraph was used, telephone, first wave of information technology was used to create new business models. New business models for the stuff that you are inventing are emerging. What does it mean to COMSNETS as a community? I think when you are looking at these technologies, and if I pick on 5G as one example that I'm sure many of you are working on in different ways, 5G is not just another linear extrapolation of earlier generations of communications technology. It's got the potential to be a truly convergent technology. It is about the network, it is about data, it is about applications, and it is about the experience that that application can deliver to a business, to an individual, to a worker on the floor, to somebody learning something at home or in a college. It is about the full spectrum from the electrons and bytes moving on media on the one hand, all the way to human experience on the other. COMSNETS, I think, is, if you look at the agenda that you all had 10 years ago to the agenda that you have today, you already will be noticing that shift. I'm sure there are enough topics and more that will be on the deep learning, on data, on analytics, and so on, as there are on communication protocols, on 2G, 3G, etc., whatever might have been relevant when you started 10 years ago. I think that shift has to accelerate, because once you are now getting closer and closer to the end user, getting closer and closer to the application edge, you are the only people who know what the technology is. Don't lose sight of that. But if you can understand what the technology can do, I think you'll be better scientists, better engineers, better contributors in your own fields. I'd like to end with to many of the younger colleagues in the room, that the generation that you live in has a unique opportunity driven by two demographic trends. And this is India specific as well as global. One, that there is a demographic dividend in India. Second, there is a global increase in human longevity. Therefore, if you're going to be living till you're at least, given God's will and good health and so on, of course, till you're probably your mid-90s, there is, I think, a logical reason to say that you will need to formally learn and relearn at least 3 times in your lives. If you graduate with a PhD at the age of 27, 28, I think it would be silly to assume that it will be relevant when you're 78 or 88. So you're not going to retire at 60. You're going to be healthy and productive till well into your 80s. So therefore, be prepared to do not 1, but maybe 2 or 3 PhDs, maybe 3 completely different areas during your lifetimes. I'll conclude with a very nice article that Bob Lucky, who used to write a very nice column in IEEE Spectrum, and it's still there on the web. You just search The Last Engineer. It's a column that he wrote about 20 years ago. So apparently the world at some point in the future becomes so, shall we say, used to higher and higher levels of abstraction of technology, that finally there's only one engineer left in the world who knows something, who can at least read the manual. Right? So the poor fellow is put in jail with a big chain on his ankle, and all the world's manuals are stacked next to him. Keep that vision in mind, but live long and prosper. Thank you.
And so we have technology, wireless technology 5.0, which is 5G, right? We have business, which enables business 4.0. And as Anand pointed out, we need to continuously keep improving ourselves, or AI will eat our lunch. And that is what Max Tegmark says in his Life 3.0. Right? So if you have not read the book, I encourage you to read. It's a very interesting book. Max Tegmark, of course, is a physicist at MIT. And he's thinking about, as the speaker here mentioned, the last 120,000 years and the last 400 years. Let's think about the next 40 years and the next 400 years. And somewhere between 40 and 400, AI will be the most intelligent thing out there, right? That is an assumption. Nobody knows for all. I'm not an AI researcher. I can't claim that. And how does it impact? Does a PhD get any more salary than a manual laborer? If the AI is doing all the work. So these very big questions. And that's the kind of thought that needs to be also thought about beyond this. But anyway, that's food for the comedy show perhaps. Going on. So it is my pleasure to welcome Tulika Pandey. She is with the Ministry of Electronics and IT. She is a senior director and has been with the ministry for more than 25 years now. And she has been involved with COMSNETS and communication technology since the last 15 or, not COMSNET, but before that, we worked with her on a very long ago on a quality of service oriented test bed. That was what, 15 years ago perhaps? And she has been helping us with the ministry and working with technology policy for a lot of time. She wears many hats. She is very much involved in the Digital India program. She has been working out all this business of electronic payments, trying to streamline them, for example. In the last year and a half, there has been a lot of push from the government on that, and many other initiatives for implementing government strategy and action plan formulation for wider reach for ICT facilitated benefits, integration of appropriate technology interfaces between human and cyber world, steering of R&D projects. She has been actively involved in the R&D funding group of MIT also over these years and funded many, many interesting projects. She started her career with microelectronics development almost, I think, 20 odd years ago, and then moved on to e-learning, technology development for Indian languages, digital libraries, e-infrastructure and internet governance, which has been her passion over the last 10 odd years. She is a member of IEEE Women in Engineering Society. She has conducted technical training programs and entrepreneurial workshops for ubiquitous ICT interventions in human life for inclusion and contribution of women in the field of ICT. She is spearheading activities of internationalization of internet proliferation and its last mile outreach within India. She represents the concerns of India and the government, in particular in the international and national forums of internet governance, internationalization of internet, and women in ICT.
I'm really fortunate to be a part of today's occasion and also to be a part of COMSNETS since its inception. I am here also to acknowledge on behalf of the Government of India the value that this research and academic community brings to this nation and the honor that this COMSNETS conference has added to the country. And we are hoping that very soon the current nature of the COMSNETS would now start to grow out in regions where it is able to touch the policy making, is able to touch the academia in terms of trying to connect the research and education with the actual requirements of the industry of today or of our nation as such. And I hope to be a part of that initiative, and we hope to really outgrow this COMSNETS community, which has now reached a decade since its inception. A very interesting thing happened when I briefed my government leaders about COMSNETS. They pleasantly were surprised and asked, how is the COMSNET functioning? Because you've never come to us seeking funds for COMSNETS. And that is the beauty of this community that sits in front of me today. And I was very proud to see that they would not really come to the government for funds. They would come for many other purposes. And we hoped that this community would someday come with an advice or maybe a document which is more going to contribute to the government's policy formulation on the latest emerging technologies. So today, just to put a factor in here, till June 2017, we have faced more than 28,000 incidents. And these are the incidents that were reported to us. We know that at least 30% or 25% more which have not been reported as incidents because of the institutions feeling that they were not prepared. So that is a legacy that we are now trying to turn around to say that since these communities today are now aware about the loss that they would go through, they do not put their SOCs in place. If their security operation centers are not really functional and they are based on outsourced function, many of them would actually suffer the consequences of that, and they really need to build an in-house capability, and that is where much of this community's work would plug into that requirement of this nation today. So when we launched additional payments, many of the financial transaction entities were not yet prepared. They did not understand the difference between secure information or secure IT, and then again to secure their financial infrastructure per se. So there is a massive work that the government is trying to do in trying to analyze these gaps, do an assessment of both the processes and the technology, and then take it on to bring out a standard operating procedure and a checklist for all these institutions and all the entities that are a part of this financial ecosystem. So not just that, in addition, we're also setting up the computer emergency response teams for each of these sectors which are critical. So we have initiated already with power and finance and telecom, and very soon we'll be taking on the other critical areas. So just to run the last issue that I wanted to say, that I would like to just give out a figure that may be an input to this community. So while we are still talking about phones, and we're very glad about having more than 1 billion telephone subscribers, and we have 241 million Facebook users, and of course, the unique digital identity, Aadhaar, which is the largest in the world, of 1.15 billion, and 463 million internet users. We are generating only 1.2 million engineers per year here, whereas in the very area of cybersecurity, we will need more than 1.8 million very trained workforce to be able to handle the cyber world of tomorrow for us. So what is it that I can give as a target to this community? So today we have around 100 plus startups in the country, 150,000 security professionals, and we have a security market of about 4 billion USD and a domestic market of 1.4 billion. What are we targeting? By the year 2025, we need more than 1,000 focused startups. It's a huge jump. 1.8 million security professionals and at least a security market of 35 billion. So this is the food that I wanted to leave you with, because in case you are a startup here, you have many opportunities that the government has created now. We have the skill startup and the Make in India initiatives, where we are reaching out especially to startups and to the industry and to entrepreneurs from the academia. And we'd be happy to hear from you if you have very well-tailored programs that could feed into the policy formulation on technologies such as the blockchain, for which we have not been able to say no to. We will have to adopt blockchain in the very near future, and we really need help to be able to take that, even if we're talking only about a smart contract or a digital contract. One does not know whether we'll be ready in the next few years for adopting the cryptocurrencies. So there is a situation there, and the biggest problem that I see standing here today is when we are trying to target setting up of 100 smart cities, the IoT security in the transport and the healthcare is really going to impact how we go about it. And that's where maybe many of you would come up and be a part of this initiative of the Government of India. I once again thank each one of you and express Government of India's pleasure that we are supporting this COMSNETS conference and will continue to do so for many years to come. Thank you. Always I run away from the, yeah.
And that brings up a question. I think the government has a key role to play. If you look at the examples of certain other countries, the governments have created very smart policies where, through barriers and so on, they provided a ground for their companies to compete and sort of grow up. What is the government here doing? I mean, is the government of India thinking along those lines? Is it sort of...
The thinking has been there for more than quite some time now. The question is, what is now available, implementable, deployed that you can really reach out to? So we do have 3 ministries outside of this ministry where we will be able to reach out, we will connect you to them. One is that. The other is within this ministry we have a very small fund, which is the Electronic Development Fund, and there are 3 such funds that is available. The issue is whether we are talking in terms of supporting a larger number of entrepreneurs, or we're talking about focusing on a particular industry to grow, and that's where we really will have to make a choice. So the ministry has set up IoT Innovation Center with NASSCOM, your industry association, and similar incubation centers have been supported not just at the association of the industry, but also in the academia. So IIT Kanpur is one of the beneficiaries of an IoT Excellence Center, and you have similar other centers that we have set up. And incidentally, the 5G initiative that was mentioned here was first initiated by us at IIT Madras, including the other 6 major IITs, which were all partners. And phase 2 was to now set up a test bed for 5G's, India's own initiative on the 5G. We have been also supporting the TSDSI, and we have been members, we have been presenting our cases in the 3GPP. And that's how the government has been, there are efforts where it's taking on, and I'm happy that now we have the DOT taking on the 5G, because that will take it to its final fruition. And that's where I'm sure the MeitI's, the Ministry of Electronics and IT, and the Department of Telecom will be actually working together to make this a successful initiative.
Science at Bangalore to please come on the stage and propose a vote of thanks and also hand over mementos to a very distinguished banquet speakers tonight. I would like to recall and remind all here that Professor Anurag Kumar served as the first president of COMSNETS board, which is called the COMSNET Association, and he was the president for the first 6-7 years, and now Professor Huzu Saran is heading the board. So would request Professor Anurag Kumar to please come on the stage and thank the speakers and hand over mementos. Thank you very much.
I'd like to begin by recalling the fact that the conference began about 10 years back. This conference actually came out of a series of conferences called COMSWare, which were held partly in Delhi. I think 1 or 2 were held in Delhi, 1 was held here. And then after 2-3 years of COMSWare, which in fact Rajiv himself started and ran along with many other people, there was a thinking that can COMSWare, which was supposed to be a conference in software, become wider and encompass all of networking. At that time, I remember we were even looking for a name for the conference, and several of the people who were there at that time, including Jim Carosa from, where was he at that time? University of Massachusetts at Amherst at that time. So he and several others brainstormed over email, and finally, after several iterations, this name COMSNETS came out. This conference has gone from strength to strength, and I think the number of people in this audience is quite mind-boggling. I think there are no families here today, because without families, you have such a large audience. If you bring families as well for Banquet as they used to be, you probably will have, twice the number of people. Every year, people look for, several people look for a certain conference to go to. Some of us look for Infocom, so we look for that date and we submit to that conference. Or some of you look for SIGCOM. I'm hoping that soon this conference will become similar, that everybody who's interested in networks, whether it is theoretical theory, or whether it is practice, whether it is systems, would be looking for the submission date for this conference, and you would want to come here every year. This hotel probably has become a bit small. You can see it from this the crowd here, and so we may be looking for another venue. I think that's up to Rajiv and others to do. Some time back, there was also a question, why have a conference in India? After all, there are a sufficient number of conferences all over the world, and people can travel to them. Why have a conference in India? I think it's somehow, I always think of the cricket analogy out here. The reason why we have so many good cricket players here is because you have an IPL in India. And it is the ability of our cricketers to invite the best players in the world and play with them that our cricketers have become so good. Some years back, I understand there was a Gavaskar era and there was a Tendulkar era. And today, each time you watch a match, you see a new player out there. And he's better than the previous one. So I think that's why we need to have a conference in India, a good one, which attracts the best in the world and excites the young minds here to do good research and networking. With that said, I'd like to thank the three speakers we've had today. Mr. Gopal Ratnam from Cisco, thank you very much for being here. Mr. Anand Krishnan, I did receive your email, I just replied to it. I was not aware of the initials KA. I always knew it was Anand Krishnan. And Tulika Pandey, who's been a close collaborator for a long time. Unfortunately, Mr. Baveja could not come here this year, but he is also a big supporter of the conference. I think he's retired from service of Neti. And of course, I don't only want to thank the three speakers at the banquet. I must thank, because I'm not disengaged from the conference. I have many other things to do. I don't have time. But Rajiv and his team, and Huzur and his team, have really kept this conference going. And I think we should really give them all a very big hand. So I hope you all go from strength to strength, and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Mementos to our distinguished speakers tonight. May I request Gopal Ratnam to come on the stage, please. Ms. Tulika Pandey, kindly come on the stage. Thank you very much, Professor Kumar. So we are glad we are running absolutely on time. And our general chairs, our very distinguished general chairs, Dr. Archana Mishra and Dr. Ramji, you know, the pressures were tight to maintain time, but I think we are fantastic, doing very well in time. This is the time before we break for dinner, which is, I know, I don't want to stand between you and dinner and the cocktails. And there's live music tonight. It goes on till almost midnight. And the comedy show by Jagdish Chaturvedi, who's right over here. I'm going to now request the chairs, could the TPC chairs and the poster chairs and the demos and exhibits chairs please come on the stage immediately and hand over the Best Paper Awards. We're again going to request Gopal and Anand to please come on the stage and hand over the Best Paper Awards of COMSNETS. So over to our TPC co-chairs, Professor Chan Manchun from the National University of Singapore, Professor Animesh Mukherjee from IIT Kharagpur, both served as the Technical Program Committee chairs in COMSNETS 2018. So over to them, thank you.
Thank you, Rajiv. So we'll start with, so there are two awards in this category, the Best Paper Honorable Mention and the Best Paper Award. So we'll start with the Best Paper Honorable Mention. So the award goes to User Response Based Recommendations, a Local Angle Approach from IIT Bombay. The authors are Veer Aruna Kavita, Salman Menon, Manjesh Hanawal, Eitan Altman, and Devanand R. And Salman will receive the award. The Best Paper Award goes to Cooperative Game Theory Based Network Partitioning for Controller Placement in SDN, IIT Guwahati. Balaprakash Rao Killi, Akhil Reddy Elor, and S.V. Rao. The Best Poster Award, there are three best posters. The first one goes to improved run length limited codes for VLC using diming control compensation symbols. IIT Hyderabad. The second poster goes to cooperative spectrum sensing in full duplex CRN with primary user activity. VNIT Nagpur. The third one goes to caching policies under content freshness constraints. IIT Bombay and IIT Madras. The next category is for Grad Forum. So here again we have 2 awards. The first one goes to automated EBM-oriented summarization of active or recruiting clinical trials, IIT Kharagpur. The second one goes to understanding the impact of unnecessary active scans in WLANs. IIT Delhi. The last is the demo category. So here we have the 2 impact awards. One is the impact award honorable mention, the impact award, and then there is a live demo award, and then there is an academic demo award. So I call the impact award honorable mention first. Automated breast cancer screening using artificial intelligence over thermal images. Niramay Health Analytics. Award, affordable innovation in medtech, showcase and research dissemination in Axel. The live demo, extended reality prototypes, Qualcomm. And the last one, academic demo, LTE Wi-Fi radio level integration at RLC layer, a demo of LWIR, IIT Hyderabad. Thank you, and congratulations to all the winners.